Everyone, I tried to make this video a couple of days ago, but actually I got so angry while I was doing it, I had to stop doing it. As you can hear, there's a massive thunderstorm going on outside, and I've got a couple of cats wandering around, so you might hear some catty sounds as well. But anyway, this is to highlight the very serious issue about censorship and the way people are being shadow banned and stuff on social media. And it's really serious. It's very serious, because we have human rights and we have rights of freedom of speech and expression, and it's very, very insidious when politics itself is being, and politicians are being banned and censored. Okay, we're talking about established official politicians, like, for example, Jeremy Corbyn. Okay, now I showed, or I tried to show in my previous video, that look, I've been trying to share a letter I wrote to my MP, and in no way could this letter be construed as a conspiracy theory. I share lots of links. Everything I say is backed up by links of evidence, and backed up by credible links of evidence. I'm not talking about stuff from Alex Jones. I'm talking about BBC, The Guardian, stuff like that. Okay, so I tried to share this on my Facebook. Okay, writings on the wall, and it's a long piece. I do recommend people read it. I can only apologise for the typos and what have you. I am dyslexic. I work on my own. I live on a very low income. I live a very busy life. I'm a carer as well. So, I do what I can. I do my bit. And it does really irk me that I get judged because, I've made a spelling mistake or a typo and what have you. Which, even though I use spell check, it's really hard even as a dyslexic to notice the spell checks, because there's that many things that are spelt correctly that are nonetheless underlined in red. So it does make it really hard. I mean, really, I could do with an editor, okay? But I haven't got an editor. I'm just me. But what I'm saying in this piece is important. The evidence that I'm sharing is important. The risks that I've exposed, the very serious risks that we, the British public, now face, are very important. People need to know them. And I don't just share the bad news, because there's also lots of good news to share. There are positive solutions, and that's why I write this stuff, not to scaremonger people, but to show people that, look, this is what is happening. These are the cards that they themselves have laid on the table. All this is from the horse's mouth, and it is up to you, the people, to take notice now and act. What are you going to do? Here are the most positive and viable solutions, because mass rioting and what have you is only going to play right into their hands, because, as I explain in this, martial law. So look, I'm sharing it on Facebook, okay, and look what happens. It's gone. It isn't there. I'll go on to my own page here. Is it on my page? No, it isn't. It isn't there. So just to show you, I will do it again. Okay, I'll share it again. And there you go. Post it. It's gone. It's not there. Is it on my page? No, it's not there. Press the refresh button. Maybe that'll show it. Is it there? See if it comes up. No, it's not there. Is it on the home page? No, obviously it isn't. So, all right, that's me. A nobody. A little blog off a very insignificant individual simple British citizen that is censored. That's That's shadow banned, okay? So then we have this now, don't we? This is Jeremy Corbyn giving a speech in response to, with a special message for Liz Truss, okay? So it's been posted, retweeted here by Mr. Sorry, by Mr. Mojo Raisin, who's, you know, a really good fellow Twitterer. And it was originally posted by Sue Walker White at Norfolk Heritage. So look, I've highlighted the text there, so we'll put it into Facebook here, and there we go. Okay, and then we'll have to, oh, just hold on a minute, I won't be a second. Hi, sorry for the interruption there. So where were we? So here we are. This is the Enough is Enough campaign. So it's a political campaign. It's also a social campaign, isn't it? Because it's about, you know, standing up to this Tory establishment that's trying to, well, price us out of our lives, basically, isn't it? We're talking about a covert culling of the population of Britain, aren't we? Because people are going to die if they can't afford to if they can't afford to heat the homes, okay? And we know that this is all part of the Agenda 21, the CO2 stuff. And I believe that this is why my blog is shadow banned on Facebook, because I explain the facts of what is really behind climate change, that there's more evidence to support those facts than there is to support the idea that human-made CO2 is driving climate change. Now, I am not saying that, you know, the oil industry isn't polluting and toxic to the environment the way that it's done right now, okay? But, you know, I have seen that these people standing against CO2, who are so, you know, xenophobic almost about CO2, are quite happy to build nuclear power stations, which are abominable. They are an abomination on our planet, and they literally, that stuff literally destroys the DNA of life, okay? And that is abominable. So until they can find a better way of creating nuclear power through fusion, then, you know, really, we shouldn't be using it. It's dangerous. Look what's happened to Fukushima. Look what's happened at Chernobyl. It's just crazy. It is like, you know, it is literally straining at the gnat to swallow the bloody camel, isn't it? And it's always about moving on to stuff that gives even more power and control to the people on top, oppressing us already, doesn't it? Because in the case of civil unrest, who can go and manage and run a nuclear power station? Absolutely nobody. Okay, you've got to be like skilled to be able to do it. So it's taking power from the people. If this government really cared about bringing down CO2, the amount of billions and billions and billions that are now being given as tax breaks and price rises to these energy corporations, could all of it be spent on giving every community in Britain its own eco power station? Why haven't they done that? Because it isn't about saving the planet. It is about saving their positions of power and wealth. Because climate change is happening and they can't do anything about it. And stopping CO2, lowering CO2 production isn't going to stop the magnetic pole excursion. And we all need to get on board with that. And we need to understand that, yes, actually, our power does need to be nationalised. It was nationalised precisely for this reason, so people couldn't be held to ransom. And there's people now talking about, oh, well, you know, when I was a kid, all we had was one coal fire and, we'd wake up to icicles in the windowsill. Yeah, I know, because I bloody well lived it. I was a child that grew up every winter, have my fingers and toes swollen and sore with chilblains. Okay? That kids with bronchitis. Everybody is suffering bronchitis. Damp housing, because people couldn't afford to have fires in every room, okay? So they'd have one fire downstairs. They couldn't afford to have electricity on and what have you. So that'd be it. Every house was damp, full of mould and damp. People don't think about these things. People do not think now about the fire risks this winter when we've cut the fire service. These Tories have cut the fire service to its bare bones, basically, a bare bone provision. Imagine how many fires there's going to be this winter now, with people trying to save on heating and lighting fires. It's going to be really bad. But they don't care. They don't care. If it gets to riots, they'll roll out martial law. That's another thing I pointed out in my blog that people need to be aware of. And, I'll leave you the link to that blog. But as I say, so that was my personal blog that's obviously been shadow banned. But here we've got the Enough is Enough campaign. This is like We the People. Jeremy Corbyn, a British politician, a British member of Parliament. Okay? So look, we will share this link now from the Enough is Enough campaign. Jeremy Corbyn there giving his speech. Copy. And we'll get it on here. It does this as well. This is another thing. It's so hard just to get something to paste. You have to do it 3 or 4 times. So, look, I'll copy this whole thing. Right. And we'll just put it there and we'll post it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's gone. It's gone. I've just refreshed. It's nowhere to be seen. Okay? It's nowhere to be seen. So let's just try it one more time. Okay? We'll try it one more time. I'll put the whole thing up there. There he is, Jeremy Corbyn. Enough is Enough campaign. Gone. Right? So let's try this, which is an article about how including seaweed, 3% of seaweed in a cow's diet actually cuts down their methane emissions, the cow's methane emissions, by 80%. Okay? So look, we'll put it here. There we go. Methane emissions. Okay? And I'll stick it on here. Let's see if this shows up. There we go. There's the article. Sand and turf, how seaweed helps cows become better climate citizens. Bang. Oh, look. Oh, look at that. It has actually shared. It's shared. Right? Has it shared on my Facebook, my own Facebook wall? Not yet. Let's just refresh and see if it appears now. Oh, there it is. There it is. See? There it is, underneath my pinned post. So this is direct evidence of shadow banning. That's what shadow banning is. That is what it is. And it is censorship. This is censorship. Because what's happening is that Facebook, as a corporately controlled social media, has now taken on the powers of itself to decide which people and which politics are going to get a look in on Facebook. And that is really serious. So, yeah, the alternative is, stop using Facebook. Stop using Facebook. But then how many other places are there where the bulk of my friends are on Facebook? They're not on Getter. They're not on Twitter. They're on Facebook. Facebook is a social media. The press is supposed to be free. We're supposed to be living in a free society, a democratic society of free speech. So any corporation that's operating within Britain and is censoring speech on the grounds of its politics and the information that's being shared, then, yeah, I mean, yes, of course we understand that, yeah, we don't want racist hate speech that's targeting certain individuals, okay, that could put those people at direct risk, then yeah, that is a crime, isn't it, if you're putting people at risk. But when you're addressing serious problems and you are relying on absolute scientific, serious facts, you know, valid, legally valid facts, then that is a very serious problem. And it's an issue that we all need to be aware of now when we have the BBC promoting absolute nonsense. So the other thing that I'd like to share just before I leave this now, if it'll come up, which, you know, look, it is almost, you know, there definitely is somebody monitoring my Facebook page, okay. So look, I posted this today. It's a photograph, a still cut from a BBC show of Liz Truss trying to justify this actually evil criminal tax cut she's given to the very richest people. And so I've sort of done a parody of what she's explaining here. It's like this. The rich are donors and direct beneficiaries. They're all people and deserve to live with dignity, security, respect and freedom. But the general public, well, they're just stock, genetically predisposed to simply scrape by, survive in cardboard boxes and shop doorways, eat whatever gacks up for grabs in the food banks if they have to. Rich people wouldn't stand for that kind of life. But the poor, they might grumble a bit, but in the end they just accept it because they understand they truly are inferior to their social superiors. And that is exactly what is bloody well going on, isn't it? That is exactly what is going on. And my granddad fought to stamp out this eugenicist evil, okay, that Hitler stood for, that the Nazis of Ukraine right to this very day still stand for and are hoping to implement in Ukraine. Eugenicist, purist nonsense. And we need to stand up to it. And Facebook is obviously supporting it. And they're using this CO2-driven climate change nonsense to push forward their Great Reset that is fully led right at the helm by people like her, Boris Johnson, Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, all of them. Nazi, Zionist, eugenicists. We see the Zionists themselves operate the same eugenicist attitude in Israel with their evil apartheid system, and that's what it is. And it is not anti-Semitic to call a spade a spade. Apparently, I putting my life at risk by saying stuff like this because I'm subversive. Well, you know what? These Zionists, right, they know absolutely nothing about life. They know nothing at all about God, because if they did, they would not even dare do any of the things that they're doing right now. But I do know, you know, and I get criticised. I get criticised because I've included, for example, in this article, this letter, I've included my own personal spiritual experiences. Okay. And it's like, oh, but, you know, you discredit yourself by talking about God and your spiritual experiences. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, what? What? I discredit myself for talking about God, but meanwhile, about my personal life experience of higher consciousness. But it's like I've said here, if my unique life experience invites judgments against my sanity, then please take into account that unlike the British monarchy in perpetual service to the crown, I have not abused my experience for the purpose of citing myself as wholly ordained to live as a superior being as head and church of state. Neither do I claim to be one of God's chosen people and thereafter giving myself rights to live like a criminal, stealing land while persecuting people on grounds they are inferior and heathen because they're a Muslim. I mean, that's basically what is going on. So, again, isn't it? Oh, the superior, rich, Nazi eugenicist people, they can talk about God, they can talk about how they're wholly ordained and chosen by God. But when us little people on the ground have real genuine experiences and have real valid information, facts and truth to share, oh well, we can all be brushed aside as mad, because at the end of the day we're all inferior. And I'm, a bit of an odd one, aren't I? Because instead of just grumbling a bit but accepting it all and accepting I'm an inferior human being, no, I say I'm an equal human being, and we are all equal human beings. Okay, life itself is not fair, we know that. Okay, we're not all born with equal abilities, equal skills, but we are all born equal in the eyes of the law. And where is the law? Where is the law? We have a law that gives us human rights. We fought. My granddad spilt his blood and gave his life, and so many men alongside him and women, for those rights. And we need to stand up for them. And as I keep saying, and I'll say it again and again with my dying breath, we must hang on to those rights. The British people need to unite. We need to show this world that we will fight and stand for our human rights with every bit of the same passion that Americans stand up for their rights to carry a gun. Because those rights are our only defence. They are our only protection from the kind of monsters that would literally freeze and starve people to death on strength of fake theories about what is causing present climate change. I'm not a climate change denier. I do believe climate change is happening. How far this present magnetic pole excursion will go, we don't know. But we do know that it is speeding up like nobody's business, and the planet is heating up as it is happening. That's a fact, okay? No amount of taxes and no amount of people in Britain starving to death in winter, or our sewage being left untreated, or closing down farms is going to halt that progress of the magnetic pole excursion. And until people get real and stand by the facts, everything else is hot air, and people like her are just what is she? She is another corporate clown. I mean, maybe she genuinely believes what crap she's talking, but what can we do except pity her in her ignorance. But she's being very well paid, isn't she? She's been very well paid, and she's been given a massive position of power on the pretext that she is prepared to accept her own ignorance. So anyway, look, thank you for listening. But I really wanted to expose this shadow ban. I really wanted to express the importance of the Enough is Enough campaign and Jeremy Corbyn here, what has happened to him. It was criminal. Keir Starmer, the present Labour Party now, all needs to be arrested and investigated, because what they did was a crime against democracy in Britain, right? That is what they actively conspired. They conspired and acted to prevent the Labour Party from winning 2 general elections. Those people did that. They effectively disenfranchised the British public who were pouring funds into the Labour Party, who were voting for Labour. They were working against them. That, effectively, it is treason, but it is a crime against democracy. Parliament right now, there is no democracy. What's happening in Parliament is an autocracy of power between Zionists. They're all Zionists. The Green Party has been taken over and infiltrated to Zionists, okay? The Liberals, the Tories we know, and Labour fully, Keir Starmer full on, I've shared the information before, full on Zionist, we've got Jerusalem celebrating Starmer taking over leadership after Jeremy Corbyn was criminally, unlawfully ousted on the strength of a pack of lies and what amounted to a witch hunt, persecution, absolute persecution, okay? And the man is still standing, And we, the people, we need to stand with him. If you're a person in Britain, if you care about our country, you care about the human rights our forebears fought for. And, you know, all the people out there talking about, yeah, we want Britain, we want white Britain, blah, blah, blah. Right, I tell you now, all the people from the colonies and the Middle East, they all fought for Britain in World War II. Okay? That's the fact of it. We are all human beings. We are all human beings. And if we're not prepared to stand with each other as human beings, as British citizens, with a British way of life, the culture that the men like my granddad gave their lives for, okay, that's the culture. It doesn't matter who comes here, right? You live by our culture, you know, our laws. We stand up for them. We stand strong. But right now, the fight that we've got now is against these Nazi Zionist eugenicists, is what they are. And they have taken over our country by stealth. It is a coup. It's an illegal coup. And every single politician, police officer, army officer, whoever is supporting them, you are all agents of tyranny. That is a fact of law. Okay, that is a fact of law. And we, as British people, have a lawful right and duty to overthrow tyranny. That is our lawful right and duty. And that is our right by the law of our own land, okay, that was established in British culture after World War II, and that is by the law of universal law that stands fully with humanity, human rights, okay? We are not born to be slaves. We are not born to be ruled by corporate coercion, because what is happening here, it is literally blackmail, isn't it? Because they're telling people you're going to stop using energy, you are going to help us meet our evil net zero target, our evil nonsensical net zero target. You're going to do that, because if you don't, you're going to be in debt. You're going to be in such massive debt. And oh look, we're building a load of new prisons. Are they for debtors? Is that where all the debtors, the energy debtors, are going to end up working in factory prisons? The new workhouses that George Osborne was hankering for when he was in office with David Cameron. Bring back the workhouses, they were saying. Right? I tell you, there's a method in their madness. When they know damn well that virtually all the houses that have been built in the last, few decades, they haven't got fireplaces. Nobody can even light a fire. People are absolutely dependent on their boiler. It is a crime. It's a crime, and they're threatening people's lives. People are terrified. People are terrified. That's terror. This is what you call economic terrorism. Okay, and I tell you, it's only going to get worse, people. It is only going to get worse. You need to pull your head out of the sand, because hiding away from it is not going to stop it happening. Because this kind of stuff is not being manifested by people like me, who's exposing what they're doing, exposing their conspiracies, okay, exposing the facts. No, it's being manifested by people with the power and money that they have gained through oppressing us, through robbing us, through their evil tax havens that we know are absolute criminal enterprises. So they've profited and profited and profited from the crime, and now they're committing even more and more crimes, and now they've got their insane Nazi Zionist eugenicist crazy plan to save only themselves. They are not bothered about our planet. They're quite happy live on a little corner of the planet with their proposed 500 million population and forget the rest of the planet forever. The rest of the planet could die as long as there's a little space for them. And actually it wouldn't be for very long, because one global natural catastrophe would wipe them out to extinction. And that's why the universe operates on a system of abundance, and that's why life on earth is meant to be abundant, and that's why God said, go forth and multiply. Right? Well, we have multiplied, and it is time that we stood up now for the next generation, because what is ahead is is horror, is all that we can say. You know, it is straight out of 1984, except on steroids. So, you know, again, I'll promote it again, the doorstep clapathon. Cheer, make a noise, get on your doorstep, clap, cheer for your human rights, show the powers of this country that we are a united people, and show the world that we are going to stand up. We are standing up for our human rights. Do stand up for something, because standing against them is going to get us nowhere. Support things like Enough is Enough, the Don't Pay by Direct Debit campaign. Okay, do what you can, stand with Jeremy Corbyn. You know, get strong, support one another, because at this time now people need each other. Phone up your friends, get together. Okay? We don't need to spread doom and gloom. I tell you, the solutions I've put forward in here, and that Jeremy Corbyn's put forward, and that I put forward in the Rainbow perspective that I wrote for Occupy on request when I was part of Occupy. Okay, all of that, there's so many positive solutions that are just absolutely wonderful. Okay, but the only problem is it means people like her and the richest 1%, okay, well, I'm sorry, they're going to have to give up their power and wealth. Okay, and that's why they don't like it. And they think that they've got the guns. Oh, they just paid the soldiers some money. Here you go. Pay your police some money. Play whoever. Look, here you go. There you go. You've got some pennies to go and pay your mortgage. I tell you, all you police and soldiers out there, they're going to replace the lot of you with their technology. Okay. And your children's children will be paying an even worse price than the poorest people in Britain today. That's the fact of it. That's the fact of it. The writing's on the wall. The writing's on the wall. Okay? It's about time people all woke up. And it just so happens that people like myself, so many of us out there who are aware of higher consciousness and have direct experience of communication, connection to the higher spirit. Okay, we know that people like Jesus weren't lying when they talk about the afterlife, when they talk about the eternal soul. Okay, it is about having faith, and that's the problem, is that people have no faith. They actually have more faith in somebody like her, that she actually has more power over them, because they have more faith in her power than they do in their own power, than they do in the power of the law, than they do in the power of their human rights, than they do in the power of the universal intelligence that created us. So what can I do? Except, look, I've shared my message, I've shown you the facts, I've shown you the censorship, the levels of censorship. It's up to you people out there to share the information now and to promote especially the doorstep, the weekly doorstep clapathon. I mean, I've said start it on Remembrance Day and let's do it one day a week. But it might be too late. Remembrance Day might be too late. We need to be doing it this week, next week, every week. We need to do it. Because that is one way that everybody in the country, no matter how rich or poor you are, how able-bodied or healthy you are, everybody can get on the doorstep and clap. It doesn't involve traipsing around London, does it? Queuing up for coaches. It doesn't involve being kettled by the police. They can't send agent provocateurs in to cause riots, turn it all into a riot, can they? But we need to do it. And it will be a show of unity to the world. Because at the moment, the silence from the British people in general at what's hit us. I tell you, in France, they wouldn't dare have even done a fraction of the price rises that they've dumped on the British people here. They just wouldn't. They wouldn't dare do it. And I'm not saying that the people should all behave as the French people do, that we should all go out and start overturning cars and setting fires. No, that's exactly what she wants us to do so they can roll out martial law. So on that level, yes, hats off to the British public that they are, people are keeping it together. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a right to stand up for our right, you see. And that doesn't mean that we can't be clever in the way that we do it, you see. Because these people, oh, she's very smart, isn't she? But they are not clever. They are not clever at all. And that's why they're so dangerous. And we cannot allow them to devour the children's future, to devour the child of humanity into their machine. Because seriously, that is what they're planning to do. Face the facts of it. The technocracy, okay? The AI human, the hackable animal. I've shared the links in previous videos, okay? We have to wake one another up to a brighter day, because the future is bleak. It's no wonder they're wearing black. We actually have a lot to celebrate. We've got a lot to celebrate. And it's about time we started celebrating our humanity and celebrating the rights that come with our humanity. How about doing that?